So I officially took over the 49ers report last week. You know what that means for all of you? More 49ers videos from us here at Chat Sports. So if you haven't subscribed, do so right now. Hit that big red button down below or go to youtube.com/49ers TV. We are trying to get to 35,000 subscribers. If we get there tonight, I got something special coming up for you later this week. Welcome into the 49ers Report. I am Chase Sr. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. If you go to manscaped.com/49ers and enter the promo code 49ers, you get 20% off plus free shipping on the best men's grooming products, the same men's grooming products that Trey Lance and all the rest of the 49ers use. I'll put that link in the description as well as the comments. Let's get into the latest 49ers news and rumors, and oh yeah, the Richard Sherman rumors, they're still hot out on the streets. According to reports, 49ers, Richard Sherman, they're engaged in preliminary talks on a possible return. Of course, as we know by now, Richard Sherman spent the last 3 years in San Francisco, and back a few months ago, it looked as though this reunion, it wasn't going to happen. Richard Sherman was going to demand too much money out on the open market, but here we are in early May, mid-May now, and Richard Sherman is still a free agent, still not with a team, and the 49ers, you can make the argument, could use some depth in that secondary unit. They certainly addressed it in free agency as well as the draft, but why not bring in Richard Sherman for a depth piece, a guy who has a great veteran presence? And Richard Sherman, after all, said that he'd be likely to sign after the NFL draft, which is on that timeline currently. So if the price is right, why not sign Richard Sherman, especially if you can bring him in for a quality price, for a short-term deal? Because when you look at the 49ers depth chart right now, I think it's in a pretty solid position with Jason Verrett, Emmanuel Mosley, as well as Kawan Williams. You drafted Diamondor Lenore, as well as Ambry Thomas in the third round. So Richard Sherman not only could start for you right away, filling one need, he could also provide depth if you don't want to start him. But what better mentor to bring in to kind of teach and tutor the likes of Diamondor Lenore as well as Ambry Thomas than Richard Sherman, who's one of the best cornerbacks in the history of the NFL and is headed for Canton once his career is up. Sherman has also said, I want to play for a contender for the next 2 to 3 years. That tells me he believes that he can still be a quality player in the NFL and bring the 49ers defense something on the outside. 49ers, not the only team interested in bringing in Richard Sherman. He mentioned these teams that have kind of inquired about his services. The New York Jets, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Seattle Seahawks, and the New Orleans Saints. Those last 3 teams fit the category of Richard Sherman wanting to go to a win-now team that contend for a playoff spot as well as a Super Bowl. I think the 49ers, though, the most stacked and best roster of those 4 teams that Richard Sherman could possibly look to join forces with. But hey, I think this is a why not scenario. Why not bring him in if his money and dollar figure isn't going to be extraordinarily high, especially if he can continue to play at a pretty high level, which I think he can. So 49ers fans, tell me, and get your votes in the comment section below, what's the % chance that Richard Sherman re-signs with the 49ers and we see a reunion between San Francisco and Richard Sherman, one of the best cornerbacks of all time, who looked pretty damn good in the scarlet and white uniforms for the past 3 years? Get your votes in the comment section below. Richard Sherman has been an all-pro, Pro Bowl cornerback. He's headed for the Hall of Fame because he has excellent ball skills. If you're trying to hone your ball skills, Manscaped is the answer, especially the Lawnmower 4.0, which was released by Manscaped last week. So there's a great deal for you out there. Go to manscaped.com/49ers, enter the promo code 49ers, and you get 20% off plus free shipping on all of the men's grooming products from Manscaped, especially including the Lawnmower 4.0. Originally on the market for $89.99, that's now down to less than $72. Now you might be saying, why should I get it? Well, I had somebody reach out to me last week and they said, is it easier than using scissors? I said, 1,000,000%. That's your answer right there. Couple of different guards, a battery that lasts forever. It's waterproof as well. You don't have to worry about nicking yourself down below, and you don't want to be in pain, right? So Lawnmower 4.0 is your answer right there. I'll put this link in the description as well as the comments, and hone in on your ball skills, just like Richard Sherman. Let's get to the latest on Trey Lance. Can't wait to see what the future holds for the number 3 pick out of North Dakota State. And a lot of people are trying to figure out what his role is, not in the future, because we know he's going to be the franchise quarterback for this team, but in 2021. Interesting piece put out there by The Athletic. And they kind of floated a different couple of scenarios of what Trey Lance's role might be this upcoming season, because Kyle Shanahan had said last week Jimmy Garoppolo right now is going to be the starter. In that article by The Athletic, kind of said, hey, expect Kyle Shanahan to design some run packages for Trey Lance this season. He's got plenty of running ability and athleticism. That's why he vaulted up draft boards and became the polarizing prospect that he did. And how about a possible Trey Lance role for Trey Lance to, or how about a possible Taysom Hill role, for Trey Lance to get some early reps in his rookie season. This is a snippet from that piece by Matt Barrows of The Athletic on playing Lance from the get-go. He said, I imagine the loose plan is to sprinkle in some Lance plays the way the Saints have used Taysom Hill in recent seasons, or the way the 49ers used Colin Kaepernick early in the 2012 season, as someone who puts defenses on high alert for a possible quarterback run. We saw at North Dakota State in one full season that Trey Lance, he has plenty of running ability. And continuing on, Matt Barrows said, obviously continuing Lance's development as a pocket passer is the top goal, but Shanahan openly said he was intrigued by Lance's ground game. And it's a ground game that we became very familiar with at North Dakota State. He was electric. He was fantastic. He was a dynamic player. Career stats, running the football, 184 carries, almost 1,300 yards, averaged nearly 7 yards a pop, took it to the crib 16 times, and brings you just a totally different element than a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who is a strictly pocket passer. Jimmy Garoppolo, on the other hand, doesn't pose a threat running the football like Trey Lance does. How about an average yards per carry for Trey Lance of around 7 to Jimmy Garoppolo 1.5? So you talk about this offense for Kyle Shanahan changing and also becoming more revolutionary and creative. If you don't want to play Trey Lance right away, maybe you do design some Taysom Hill-like packages for Trey Lance to see and get on the field, find a little bit of a rhythm, get acclimated with the NFL game, and move forward from there. Because, yeah, I kind of like the thought process of going forward with Jimmy G as quarterback number 1. Take that same approach that the Kansas City Chiefs took with Patrick Mahomes. Raw guy coming out of college, start the veteran on a Super Bowl ready roster right now, and whenever the young gunna is ready to ball, let him ball. For the latest 49ers news, rumors, offseason updates, if Richard Sherman signs with the 49ers, we're going to keep you updated right here on the 49ers Report. We are trying to up our subscriber game, so help us do so right now. That link right down below, youtube.com/49erstv, or hit that big red button down below and subscribe to the 49ers Report right now. Following the NFL draft, one of the big topics of conversation for the 49ers was, wow, they drafted Trey Sermon in the 3rd round, Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round. They now have a very crowded running back room. What does it mean for a guy like Raheem Mostert? Well, Sports Illustrated's All 49ers Jack Hammer asked this question: should the 49ers cut Raheem Mostert before the start of the season? He's currently the oldest running back on the roster with that influx of youth coming to San Francisco. He has a dead cap of $458,000, so that is very minimal. Doesn't hurt the 49ers in a financial sense at all. And as I mentioned, the 49ers have really this entire offseason overhauled that entire running back room in free agency as well as the draft. Lost Tevin Coleman to the New York Jets. Jerick McKinnon signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought it was a really underrated move to bring in Wayne Gallman from the New York Giants, who was really good last year in the absence of Saquon Barkley after he tore his ACL. 49ers in the 3rd round might have surprised some people by drafting Trey Sermon. His jump from 2019 to 2020 was awesome. And Elijah Mitchell is a guy in the 6th round who you get who compared himself to Alvin Kamara and runs a 4.3 40-yard dash. I really like the makings of this 49ers backfield, so I do think that you can get away with moving on from Raheem Mostert. He's currently running back 1 on this roster because of the experience and the age, and we've seen throughout his 49ers career, he's a pretty productive player. But if you move on from Mostert, you still have a pretty loaded running back room that I really, really like, especially with those young pieces coming into Kyle Shanahan's offense. Here's a look at what Mostert has done the past 2 seasons when he's been able to stay on the field. He's a really good player. And he's also said, hey, I think I'm one of the fastest players in the NFL. Not sure that is true, but what I do know is true is that he's a productive running back. 2019, 16 games played, ran for almost 800 yards. The yards per carry, 5.5, that's what you like to see. Got to the end zone 8 times. Last year, had to kind of battle some nagging injuries, only played 8 games, still ran for more than 500 yards. So he was still on pace to eclipse the 1,000-yard mark, 2 touchdowns, average yards per carry of 5. So certainly a productive running back, a guy who at 28 years old has some gas left in the tank, especially with how he started his career as a journeyman. But if you want to move on and the price for doing so is less than $500, why not? I let my opinion known. The faithful, what is yours? Should the 49ers cut Raheem Mostert? Get your votes in down below. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Youth movement, it is certainly real on this 49ers roster. I've loved what they've done in free agency as well as the draft. In free agency, filled big positions of need. In the draft, got guys who can provide some depth for this team, and you can start to groom over time. 2 of those guys, Trey Sherman and Elijah Mitchell. I can make the argument right now that Trey Sherman might be ready to play in 2021. So maybe that's the thought process here is if you move on from Raheem Mostert, who is a speedster for sure, but also has some physicality to his game, plug in Trey Sherman, and he can give you some solid reps and carries right from year 1. So I'm thinking a youth movement is underway, certainly across the roster as they replenish things led by John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, but also bring in some guys who they can start to groom, Trey Sherman and Elijah Mitchell being 2 of those guys who I think Kyle Shanahan is really, really looking forward to putting both of those into his offense because Trey Sherman, more of a physical running back who, hey, he's still a game breaker, right? But gives you that physical nature in the backfield. Elijah Mitchell, more of the speed threat who can also kind of go out on wheel routes. You want to give him a little screen. Let him take it to the house as well. Gives you that ability too. So 2 different styles that I think Kyle Shanahan is really excited to kind of get his hands on and see if he can develop them right from the jump, which is why moving on from Raheem Mostert could be a realistic possibility.